Kia ora e tamariki mai, and welcome back to The Word. I wonder if you know someone who's just like super kind or good. I don't know about you, but they're the type of people that I like being around. They're the type of people that really care about others. And when I say others, I'm not just talking about our friends or whānau. It's usually quite easy to be kind and good when we're around them. I'm talking about showing kindness and goodness to those who maybe aren't so easy to love. One of the things that we need to learn on this journey of becoming lifelong followers of Jesus is to be kind and good to others. Jesus tells a story in the Bible about a man who was really good at these two things. So there was a man, let's call him Joe. Joe was a Jew, and he was on a trip from Jerusalem to Jericho. Now, this was a risky trip, and often there were dangerous people on the roads that would attack travelers. Well, as Joe was walking down the road, maybe he was humming a happy song, maybe he was singing, maybe he was thinking, maybe he was praying. Who knows what he was doing? But as he walked down the road, the Bible says he was attacked by a group of bandits. They beat him up really badly. They took all of his belongings, including all of his money and even his clothes, and they left poor Joe on the side of the road to die. A little while later, another man, let's call him Pete, came walking down the road with his head held high. He was a proud man who served as a priest. Surely Pete the priest, this good man who worked at the same church that Joe went to, would help him. Pete looked at Joe. You won't believe what happened. Instead of helping him, he crossed to the other side of the road and carried on with his journey. Pete pretended like he didn't even see him. Well, later, another man, let's call him Levi, came walking down the road. Levi was a Levite who also worked at the church where Joe went to. Joe was still lying on the side of the road, and he was in so much pain, and he was thirsty. He really needed someone to help him. "Please help me," he said as Levi came near. But instead of helping, Levi also crossed to the other side of the road. He completely ignored Joe's cries for help and carried on with his day as though nothing had happened. A few hours passed, and another man, let's call him Sam, came walking down the road with his donkey. Sam must have been on a long-ass journey. His donkey was carrying loads of supplies. Maybe he could help Joe. But would he? You see, there was a problem. Sam was a Samaritan, and Jews and Samaritans didn't like each other. They didn't talk to each other. They had no time for each other. There was no way Sam was going to stop and help. But there was no one else around, and Joe was not going to make it much longer. "Help me, please help me," Joe called out. And do you know what? Sam didn't cross the road. He felt sorry for Joe, who was lying on the road so badly beaten up, and he knew that the right thing to do was to help him. Sam bandaged up Joe's wounds, and then he put him on the back of his donkey, and he led him to the next little town where he found a place for them to stay. He didn't know if Joe would even make it through the night. He was very close to dying, but Sam stayed awake and cared for him. He was so kind and caring. What he chose to do for Joe was a really good thing to do. He gave him sips of water and food, and he made sure that he had everything that he needed. In the morning, Sam went and gave the people who owned the house enough money to continue looking after Joe until he had fully recovered. He paid for his bed, paid for his food, for his medicine, and for bandages. Then Sam told the people, "If it costs more than this, I'll pay you the next time I come back through town." At the end of his story, Jesus asked which one of these men showed love to his neighbor. The people listening were like, "Sam, he was the one who stopped and looked after Joe. He was so kind, and it was so good of him to pay for Joe to be cared for properly." Yep, definitely Sam the Samaritan. Jesus said, "Now I want you to go and do the same thing. treat people kindly, and choose to do things that are good. That's what Jesus is calling us to do as lifelong followers of His, to treat people kindly and to do good.